Welcome to Watching Comics with me, Chris Otto, where I share my thoughts and opinions on comic book movies and television shows. And on this week's episode of Watching Comics, I'm talking about Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. This week's episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was the Season 2 finale, and right off the bat, oh my god, what did they just do to Gemma at the end of that episode? I really hope they did not just kill her off. That would be very disappointing. That was unexpected. So, especially after, that nice moment between Fitz and Simmons, trying to set up a date, and then nope, weird, inhuman, liquid, solid, blobby thing absorb her. Fantastic. As for the rest of the 2-hour episode, I thought it was a good season finale to a good season, a much better season than the first season. It was nice, this season to see more elements from the comic book, from the Marvel comic universe, and have more people with powers and comic book things happening on the show. So, again, the finale, I thought it was a really good finale. I liked the scene with Skye fighting the ginger bitches. That was cool. Skye got a few badass fight scenes this season. I know a couple episodes ago there was a long take of her going through and beating people up. So that was cool to see, Skye get to really get some action since, she's been trained by Agent May and everything. And also with Skye now in charge of this team that Coulson is putting together of people with powers, I wouldn't be surprised if Lincoln, the Inhuman with the electric powers, joined up. I think that'd be cool to see him part of that team. But yeah, it was an exciting episode. It was a shame to see the Orson Welles lookalike S.H.I.E.L.D. agent go. I was hoping to see more of the Orson Welles lookalike, but Agent Weaver survived, so I'm sure we'll see more of her, and hopefully they find a way to get Agent Coulson his arm back. Mac just chopping it off like that saved his life. So yeah, I'll be interested to see if they find a way to give him, like a robotic arm, Star Wars style, or if they're gonna go, Arrested Development style. I'm a monster. And keep stabbing people with a hook. I doubt that'll happen. And I also liked that they let Skye's dad, he did redeem himself. Sure, he's murdered probably hundreds of people, but they wiped his memories and let him live out his life as a veterinarian. I thought that was nice that they let him, do that. So yeah, like I said, I enjoyed the finale. And yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens with Ward now, who seems to be trying to reform Hydra or something since the rest of Hydra has died. And I totally saw him killing Agent 33 because I knew she had the mask she was going to put on May's face to ambush any S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. And then, of course, the first person to find her is Ward and shoots her like 3 times in the chest. So, kind of figured that was going to happen. It's nice to see Bobby Morse survive. I know there is talk. I'm not sure if it's been given the axe or not, but I know there was talk of a spin-off with Bobby Morse and Hunter. But again, I know I heard there was going to be a spin-off, and then they decided, no, this is a terrible idea. And then I heard, well, it's not dead in the water yet. It might get a release, not on ABC, but maybe like Hulu or Netflix, something like that, or just another channel, who knows. And as I already mentioned, I thought this season was much better than the first season, and I think most people would agree with that. The first season didn't really get good until Captain America the Winter Soldier came out, and the show started tying into what happened in the movie. That was really when the show got good. Before that, the show wasn't great, I kept with it just because it was a comic book TV show. So that first season, it took several episodes for it to get really good. or to get good in general. So yeah, this second season was much better. And again, I liked how much it was referencing the Marvel comic universe. Because the first season didn't really do that. They weren't using any comic book characters. That's why it was such a big deal when they introduced Deathlock in the first season. Because it was like, finally, they're using a comic book character. It was also nice seeing Deathlock this season. I think he showed up at least once, maybe a couple other times, in a much better costume that didn't look like, a laser tag getup. And I did sort of like the way it tied into Age of Ultron. Something about it felt weird, but at the same time, I did like it. I think part of it is also that I've read a few interviews recently where Joss Whedon has said that he's not, that like the movie people aren't the biggest fans of the way Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is handling things. So that may affect my opinion on how it ties into the movies. So, like I thought it was kind of silly that, it was supposed to turn out like, oh, it was Coulson who was helping Nick Fury hide the helicarrier. And it was Coulson and his team telling Maria Hill to tell the Avengers to attack that fortress at the beginning of the movie. So things like that, it almost makes the show seem like the creators are almost like it's like this pretentiousness to it. Like it's either that or they're just trying really hard to fit in to the movie universe. Because now that the show has introduced Inhumans, I'll be curious how this fits into the Inhumans movie several years down the line. And if they want to use the character of Quake, Daisy Johnson, that it turns out Skye is, will Chloe Bennett, who plays Skye on the show, be in the Inhumans movie playing Quake? Or will they keep her to the show, if the show still lasts that long? I know the Inhumans movie isn't scheduled to come out for 3 or 4 years, so, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., as popular as it is, I don't see it lasting very long. For me, watching the show, there are times where I feel like I don't get everything because I'm not as avid of a Marvel comic reader as I am of DC comics. I've read and learned a lot more about DC Comics characters because I've been interested in DC Comics characters a lot longer, since I think pretty much since I could talk and be aware of things around me, I've liked Batman. So I've always known the most about Batman. Batman with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson as the Joker, it came out a year after I was born. So I was born and Batman was everywhere. So I think that's part of the reason why I know so much about DC is that I've been interested in Batman a lot longer. Whereas Marvel Comics, as much as I loved the cartoons as a kid, like Spider-Man and X-Men, and I saw all the Marvel movies, like the X-Men movies, Batman was always my favorite. So there are lots of references to the Marvel Comics that I don't get, but now that I am reading Marvel Comics and have learned a little bit more about the Marvel comic universe, it's nice when I get to recognize things, in the show from the comics. And I liked that they did that a lot more in the second season. And since they were including Inhumans, which is a major part in the comics, they probably kind of had to introduce a lot more of the comic world, because I know the big thing was introducing, well, actually finally revealing and naming the Kree. Since they showed a Kree in the first season, now they finally named them as Kree, named them as Inhumans. So, like I said, the second season was much better than the first season. And the show does have me, as I've said in the past about Marvel movies and the show Daredevil, has me excited for the future of Marvel, because it's doing so much, which I think could also be the downfall of Marvel, is that it does so much to set up the future. Sometimes it doesn't focus on what it's actually taking care of in the moment. Like I've said, certain sequels to movies, especially the Thor sequel, I thought wasn't great and really only existed to just move the universe along and introduce another Infinity Gem. And that was my reaction after seeing Guardians of the Galaxy. Here I was so excited for Guardians of the Galaxy because the movie was announced, I think, right before or right after I had started reading Guardians of the Galaxy. So I was excited to see those characters. And then I watched the movie and felt like it felt like it only existed to introduce an Infinity Gem and expand the universe and show off Josh Brolin as Thanos. My opinion changed after I watched it on Blu-ray, and my opinion of Thor: The Dark World may change if I were to watch it again, but that first viewing just kind of made me But Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did the same thing, but it also kept me interested in what was going on. It also has me interested in the future. So as I've already mentioned, I'm looking forward to see what this team that Coulson and Skye are putting together, who's going to be on that team, because obviously, well, I would normally assume that the next season, the third season, would skip some time ahead. That's what we saw between the first and second season. Time had passed. We were introduced to new characters like Mac, who, are now part of the team, but they were new characters at the beginning of the season. So I would expect when the third season starts, Lincoln might be part of this team. Maybe some of the other Inhumans that Skye helped save, or Skye didn't help save, but that were saved, or any other superpowered people that they find. But at the same time, it might start right after whatever the hell that goo is that absorbed Gemma Simmons, which I still can't believe they did that. Simmons has been one of my favorite characters for most of the show because I always, the part of what I loved about that first season was the dynamic between Fitz and Simmons because they were so, fun to watch together. So to see something happened, what Ward did to Fitz at the end of the first season, and to see the way Fitz was most of this second season, I felt bad for the character. And seeing Simmons undercover in Hydra, it was crazy. So I'm hoping that they didn't just kill off Simmons because that would be a major bummer. But I'm not sure what that is that just happened to her because again, like I said, I don't read the comics. I don't know if that rock goo thing that the Inhumans were so concerned about is from the comics, so I don't know what it just did to her, but it didn't look good. So I guess we'll find out season 3, which I believe it has been picked up for season 3 just a couple weeks ago because the entire cast who I follow on Twitter retweeted the picture announcing season 3. Then it was also nice at the end seeing May trying to, wanting to take a vacation, see her try and be a normal person for the first time since what happened in Bahrain. So yeah, like I've said about basically everything I've ever talked about in this Marvel Cinematic Universe, it has me excited for the future. I enjoyed this second season, as I've mentioned multiple times, much more than I liked the first season. And I liked the first season. I was one of those people that, liked the first season from the start. It took its time, but I stuck with it because I'm one of those people that likes to know everything going on in the universe. One of the things about this season, though, that I'm trying to decide what I really thought about it was the whole S.H.I.E.L.D. versus S.H.I.E.L.D. storyline. I know if any of you listeners read my, or had read my weekly recaps, I had predicted that there was a splinter faction of S.H.I.E.L.D. That there was an alternate S.H.I.E.L.D. Because Bobby Morse and Mac were talking, and it was obvious that they were in cahoots with whatever was going on. And so, Mac flat out said they weren't Hydra, and my prediction was that they were either AIM or another S.H.I.E.L.D. And of course, they turned out to be another S.H.I.E.L.D. It was an interesting idea, and I did like the character of Agent Gonzalez. Thought he was a really cool character. The actor was really good. Edward James Olmos, I think is his name. I thought he was great in that role. And again, the Orson Welles lookalike, he was I don't know, I just got a kick out of seeing him look like Orson Welles walk around. Want to hear him say Rosebud or something, I don't know. But yeah, it's about Inhumans, then out of nowhere, oh, there's Shield versus Shield, and then it goes back to Inhumans. I don't know. It felt more like it was more suspenseful for the audience than for what was going on in the for the characters. I don't know. Like I said, it was still a really good second season, and I'm looking forward to season 3, and hopefully Gemma Simmons survived whatever that inhuman goo was. Like I said, I'll be so bummed if they just killed Gemma Simmons like that. And that's what I'm kind of prepared for. But, that just about wraps things up. If you think I missed anything or if my opinions are wrong and stupid, let me know. Facebook.com/watchingcomics or on Twitter @watching_comics. Thanks for listening. I'm Chris Otto. I'll see you next time.